Hey guys, welcome back. This is Professor Hank, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the differences between being a computer programmer and a software developer. Right? So, what's the difference between being a programmer and a developer? Um, the cats are fighting each other. Um, because that's an important question. Maybe you've heard those terms thrown around from time to time, and you're a freshman in computer science program, maybe at my university or somewhere else, or you're thinking about getting into it, going back to school or whatnot. And so you're like, well, what's a computer programmer? What's a software developer? I don't understand the difference. Okay, let me just throw a couple of things out there for you. You want to be a developer. You don't want to be a programmer. That's number one. Okay. For my students, when I'm teaching them, you know, doing my courses, I'm always encouraging my students to learn to figure stuff out, learn to think, learn to solve problems, be a problem solver. Okay? If you can solve problems, if you know how to think, if you're capable of sequential and logical thinking, you will work. You will work. Okay? And learning to program is just a tool uh, to that end. Okay? It's not the end by itself, right? Learning to program is just the beginning. Okay, that's just learning. It's like learning how to swing a hammer. It doesn't make you an architect. Okay, and so I'm always emphasizing, learn the logic of this, ask the why questions. What does this do? Do you understand? Is memorization stupid. Don't memorize. Understand things. And a good 4-year degree, classic liberal arts education, or at least the elements of it, go a long way to helping you be able to solve problems, right? Your philosophies classes, your humanities classes, your mathematics classes, because what are you doing in these types of classes? You're learning to think, you're learning to reason, you're learning the basics of logical thinking. In math classes, you're learning how to do proofs, right? You're learning how to go about algorithmically solving different types of problems. In humanities classes, like your introduction to philosophy classes, for example, you're learning how proper thinking works, right? If I do this, that leads to this thing, and then if I do something based off of that, this will lead to something else, and then if I do this will lead to something else. Therefore, conclusion, right? So you learn how to put together arguments, you learn how to think a certain way, in a structured way, in a logical way that comports with reality, right? To where if this premise and this premise and this premise and this premise and this premise are true, then the conclusion that you're trying to make is going to be true, right? So that type of thinking all helps in developing the ability to analyze problems and solve them, right? Analyze requirements and solve them. And that contributes to being a better programmer, being a better developer, because you have to be able to think logically and you have to be able to understand what's going on and why. And you have to be able to propose solutions, and your solutions are going to be based off of a style of thinking. Well, if I do this, if I do this, if I do this, then therefore this problem will be solved. Okay, so all of those things, whether you realize it or not, you're like, why do I have to take Intro to Philosophy 101? Why do I have to take so many stupid math classes? Why do I have to do proofs? Because you're training your brain to operate in a certain way, okay, to solve problems and to be able to understand and figure things out. It's really, 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 really important. Okay, if you graduate, if you somehow manage to graduate with a 4-year degree and you didn't learn those skills, and your computer science degree is worthless. I mean, it just is. You need to be able to solve problems. Anybody can program. Not everybody has the talent to solve problems. Okay, so just to underscore this, okay, I wanted to show you something, give you a better definition, to give you some clarity. What I was just explaining gives you a little bit of context, a little bit of motivation as to why you might want to take some other classes or why you have to take other classes other than your computer science classes and why they contribute. You need to be creative. creative thinker. You need to be able to think logically, and you need to be able to put together a couple of thoughts and put together some ideas that can lead you somewhere, right? And that's how you can solve problems. But I'm going to take you to the Occupational Outlook Handbook. So let me switch scenes here to my browser. There we go. And this is hosted by put together by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. And every so often, I don't know how many years it is, they go through and they examine, the job market, and they interview business leaders and different institutions and organizations to find out what people are doing, and what stuff is paying, how much education you need, what the description of the job is, what the working environments are, and so on, right? And so, what's the difference between programmer, developer? Programmers are the grunts, man. They're a dime a dozen. Their jobs not in demand. Those jobs can be done by anybody, anywhere, at any time, right? Those are jobs that are getting offshored all the time, right? The job market for programmers is actually shrinking, and they make far less money. Software developers, on the other hand, red hot, right? Pays really great, going to be in demand for the next 10 years, okay? Software developers solve problems. They design systems, okay? They're the ones who have to come up with creative solutions, and they have to know how to think, okay? Coming up with the system is a lot harder. Coming up with the application and how you're going to design it is a lot harder than implementing it, right? So software developers, engineers, they're the people who are doing the requirements analysis. They're the ones who are putting together the plan to solve the problem, which is, we need this system, we need this banking website, we need this app, we need this whatever. They design that stuff, right? Programmers build it. Programmers are just painting by numbers, and I'm speaking in broad generalities there. Some of you are going to call yourself programmers, and you act like developers, and some of you are calling them, and those terms can be, those of you who are working, you know what I'm talking about, okay? But what I'm trying to communicate here is the emphasis that you want to place on your education, the mindset, right? Where you want to position yourself at the end of 4 years, okay? You want to be able to solve problems creatively, okay? So we're at this website, okay, and you can go and you can do some searching, right? So you can go up here, you can search for all kinds of jobs, whatever you might be interested in. So I'm going to start off with computer programmer. Okay, computer programmer. So you're like, I'm going to go to school for 4 years. I want to lay down. I'm going to go into debt up to my eyeballs. Get for my education. I'm going to be a computer programmer. They make tons of money. No. Okay, so computer programmers, and they just completed this survey last year. So this is fairly up to date. Okay, so you can take a look here, and there's all kinds of useful information. BLS.gov. OOH, okay. Median pay, 2019, 86,000. Not bad, right? That's the middle. So half of programmers make more than that, half make less. Typical entry-level education, bachelor's degree, on-the-job training. Number of jobs. Check this out. Number of jobs in 2019. How many people in the United States are working as computer programmers? 213,900. What's the growth for computer programmers projected to be over the next 10 years for computer programmers? A decline of 9%, right? So by 2029, they're projecting that 20,000 some odd computer programmers in the United States are going to lose their jobs, okay? Because computer programmers, they're grunts, right? No disrespect intended to anybody else, but they're not, what they do, at least as described here, and that's what I'm trying to point out, is what skills here are their demand is in decline, okay? I'm just trying to help you set some expectations and some goals for yourself, or, get you in the right mindset, right? I'm not here to insult anybody who's a computer programmer or whatever, okay? So please don't misunderstand, okay? What's the big idea, right? But people who are employed as computer programmers, they're losing their jobs, okay? Now, what do computer programmers do? Let's go look. Okay, as defined by the OO. Okay, Write programs in a variety of computer languages, in a variety of computer programming languages, right? I mean, you learn Java, you're not set, right? I mean, it's a tool. You have to be able to program in multiple languages. Okay, update and expand existing programs. Update and expand. Test programs. Okay, create and test code in IDEs. You know what those are, Visual Studio. Use code libraries. Okay, they work closely with software developers. So here we have language that shows us that these are not the same things. Okay, and as I was saying at the very beginning, the terms can get fuzzy sometimes. Not trying to insult anybody, so don't misunderstand. In some businesses, their duties will overlap. There is overlap, okay? But what I'm trying to emphasize is, where should you be focusing your effort, right? What should you be focusing on with your education? Don't just think, oh, I know everything there is to know about C++ now. I can program anything. I'm done. No. You have to be able to use that tool to solve a problem, come up with a solution to solve a problem. Okay, program design is the big deal, is the big difference really between programmers and developers. Programmers typically don't do this kind of thing within this context, okay? Okay, so let's go back here. Let's take a look at the pay. Medium annual wage for computer programmers, $86,550. And most of you guys are going to be working full time. The lowest 10% earn less than 50 grand, highest 10% earn 40,000. So, there's people out there still working, still making some decent money, but look at the outlook, okay, for people who do stuff like this, okay, whatever you want to call them, right? The number of jobs is low and the growth is negative, okay? Now, let's go back and take a look at software developers, okay? Let me go see if I can find it. Here we go. Okay, and notice the difference in what they're saying the responsibilities are when we get to what software developers do. But take a look at the difference in pay, right? And keep in mind what the responsibilities are, the differences in responsibilities are, right? If you're finding yourself in a job where your responsibilities are that of a computer programmer, you can expect that job may not be around, long term. But so software developers, median pay, 107 grand. Was it like 20 grand more? Typical entry-level education, bachelor's degree, although I'd say master's degree is always better. Number of jobs, 1.4 million. That's like almost, 4 or 5 times? Job outlook over the next 10 years. They're expecting a 22% increase in the number of jobs for software developers. People who have the responsibilities or the skills I'm about to go through with you in the OO. Employment change, right? So they're projecting 316,000 new jobs for software developers, where for computer programmers, a loss of 20,000 plus jobs for the next 10 years, right? So clearly, according to the research done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you want to be aiming in this direction, in this general direction. Because remember, there's some overlap, but you want to be heading in the software developer direction, right? You want to be developing the skills that are being described for software developers, not just what programmers do. Now, all software developers are going to be computer programmers, okay? But not all computer programmers are software developers, even though sometimes they take on the responsibilities. Okay, so let's talk about what software developers do. Okay, so here are some of the duties here, okay? Analyze and note the differences, okay? Note the differences. People who are software developers are leaders, okay? They're the ones figuring stuff out. Analyze users' needs and then design, test, and develop software. Recommend software upgrades. Design each piece. Design. Plan how the pieces will fit together. Right? Create models and diagrams. Flowcharts. Right? I just gave some of my students tests which included, flowcharting. Did terrible on it. Didn't pay attention. Right? You need to know these tools, UML, flow charting, the hierarchy charts, etc. That show programmers. You come up with the design, you come up with the blueprint, you're the architect, you hand it off to the builders. Who makes more money, the architect or the builders? The architects or the laborers, right? Document every aspect, okay? Collaborate with other computer specialists, etc., right? So these people are designing, they're figuring out, they're doing requirements analysis, they're figuring out what somebody needs, they're trying to figure out how to solve their problem for them. They're coming up with a design to solve problems, okay? So let's go take a look at how to become a software developer, okay? So education, bachelor's degree, in computer science, yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with computer science, you just can't. It's like the best degree ever. Now, here's the thing I want to point out. Although writing code is not their first priority, I tell my students all the time, there's 3 things that go into developing software. Step 1, understand the problem, requirements analysis. Step 2, come up with a plan, design. Those first 2 steps are far and away more important than step 3, implement your plan or implement your design. Writing the code is easy, it's trivial. Once you've got the first 2 parts down, you just paint by numbers. Right? The third part, which is the writing the code, that is easy. Once you figure out how to write it, actually writing it is easy. Anybody can do that. Right? That's what the computer programmers, as described by the OO, are doing. Right? Their emphasis isn't on designing the systems. The real talent are the people who can figure out what to build, what the needs are, and then satisfy those needs. Okay, they do have to have a strong background in computer programming, because how are you gonna design a software system if you don't know all the basics of computer programming in general, right? All right. And they also are going to have skills related to the industry in which they work. But take a look at important qualities. Okay, important qualities. Analytical skills, right? Communication skills, being able to work in a team. Okay, being able to communicate with customers, being able to tell others on the project, being able to manage a project, being able to work in a group setting. Okay, creativity. You have to be able to come up with creative solutions to problems based off of requirements that you've been analyzed, and you have to be able to direct others and lead others to get to that solution. Okay, interpersonal skills. Okay, you're managing a team. Problem solving skills, right? Problems are going to come up. You're going to have to deal with them. You're going to have to you're going to have to figure stuff out. You're not going to have somebody holding your hand the entire time. You're not going to be able to go to somebody else and say, okay, what do I do? Hey, professor, how do I do this? How do I fix this? You have to be able to figure stuff out on your own. That's why I tell my students, if you graduate with your 4-year degree, with your computer science degree, and you didn't learn how to figure stuff out, you wasted your time, man. You gotta be focusing on solving problems, analyzing requirements, analyzing problems, coming up with creative solutions, figuring stuff out. You gotta be able to figure stuff out. You always gotta be trying to think of how you can make this better. Yeah, this works, but can I make it better? Or what are 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different ways I could have gone about to solve this problem? Could I have been more efficient? Maybe there's a better language to do this in. How can I solve this particular problem? I got to come up with an algorithm that outlines a solution. Right? This stuff is all vastly more important than int x equals 5. If x greater than 0. The code, relatively speaking, the code doesn't matter. It pales in significance compared to having problem-solving skills. And where do you build these problem-solving skills? Yeah, in your computer science classes, but also math courses, humanities courses, right? You need to be a well-rounded individual to build all this stuff up. All right, so let me go back to the programmers, and where'd they go? Computer programmers. Oh, one more back. Okay, how to become. Okay, so look at the important qualities. Right, there's nothing here about problem solving. right? There's nothing here about interpersonal skills. There's nothing here about creativity, right? Analytical skills. They must understand complex instructions, right? Concentration. They have to be able to focus on their work. Detail oriented. Well, of course. Troubleshooting skills, right? Being able to debug your own freaking code. This is the most annoying thing for me. One of the most annoying things for me with my students, when they're seniors, they come in, I can't figure out how to, I don't know why this array won't blah, blah, blah. It's basic array processing, man. You should learn that in CS 101. You can't figure that out by now and you're a senior. What are you doing? But look at the important qualities. They're different. And so this is why I was saying at the very beginning, I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody. You call yourself a programmer, you call yourself a developer. There's labels, right? Words don't have inherent meanings. They have usages. And so this bundle of skills, this bundle of responsibilities, this bundle of tools that you have, this is what OO is calling a computer programmer, okay? And so all I'm trying to say is to students is, where should your mind be at? Don't have your mind just being within this context. Don't do it. Don't do it. You'll be wasting your time, okay? Have in your mindset, okay, your goal, your aim, to develop these skills, right? How to become a software developer. Analytical skills, communication skills, creativity, detail-oriented, interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills. Focus on this in your college education. And this is another reason, it just occurred to me, when people ask me, well, why don't I just go do a coding boot camp? You don't develop this stuff in a coding boot camp, right? Coding boot camps, in my opinion, if you have a different opinion, experience, leave it in the comments below. Tell me I'm wrong, yell at me, do whatever. We can have a discussion. But coding boot camps don't do this, right? Coding boot camps are fantastic if you've already got your degree, if you're already out there working, you need to pick up a second language quick or something like that. But even then, $22,000, $23,000, $25,000. If you're already out there and you know how to program in the first place, they're even a waste of money, because you can teach yourself a new language in a couple of weeks, right? I mean, because if you focused on all of this stuff, the languages don't matter, okay? So my advice is, try to develop these qualities as you're pursuing your education, right? The learning to code part, that's just the beginning, man. That's like saying, oh, I learned how to do my multiplication tables, and so now I'm an expert at math. No, you're not. No, you're not. Right? Basic arithmetic is just the beginning. You're not doing math until you're doing, proofs, okay? And using math to describe realities in the universe, okay? Learning to create a function, learning to follow somebody else's plan, that's very limiting, right? You're just programming in that case. You're not designing stuff. You're not solving problems. You're not going to be in demand. The people who are in demand are the people who have these skills. Okay, these people will work forever. All right. Anyway, it's just something I was thinking about and something I thought I would share, because somebody had asked me about career advice, and they were asking me some things, and there's so many people who don't know about this tool, this OO tool, and it's not perfect. It's hard because people call themselves all kinds of things for their job. Software engineer, software developer, computer programmer, coder. Okay, don't get hung up on the labels. Get hung up on what is in demand and what's necessary, or what people need. People need problem solvers. If you can solve problems, you will work, you will be in demand. You are the talent of the company, right? Your job's not going to be outsourceable if you're the person on the front lines designing solutions and leading teams. You're the heart. You're what's important, right? The people on your team who are just implementing your plans, they're interchangeable, man. You can outsource that to anywhere. They're not irreplaceable. The people who are driving the development effort, those people are irreplaceable. They need to know how to program, yeah, but they need this stuff more. Okay, so something to think about. It's just something I thought I would share. And again, if you disagree, if you want to interject anything, put stuff in the comments. And get some discussion going. But coding, learning to code, that's the beginning, man. That's the bare minimum. That's just the price to entry. right? If you want to thrive, if you want to be successful, you got to develop this other stuff too. Those days of sitting in the basement in a cubicle somewhere just coding without talking to anybody, that's over. Okay, that's over. That's old school. That's not happening anymore. Okay. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.